nice when I got the headset on and all that. So
You actually look like a technology guy at this point.
well, I've got this
funny,
big wraparound screen.
You normally don't sound like a technology guy. I mean, that's the coolest part. I mean, you have the technology background, yet you talk to us like a normal human. How did you hone those two skills?
Yeah, well, I was a geek in middle school and high school. I had a computer from 12 years old on, but I think it was when in probably when I was 17, 18, I discovered sales, and then I figured out that it was where sales and marketing and technology intersected that for me made the most sense. So I was a sort of had that entrepreneurial brain, and then I'm always, I think it's probably one of my superpowers, but I'm always thinking about what's the bigger problem to solve throughout my life. So, and it's just, I don't know why I was wired this way, but probably my geekiness just said, it's all just a big algorithm that needs to be solved. So I said, I need to be good at sales. So I immersed myself in sales, sold Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door, was a stockbroker, sold cars, sold all kinds of stuff over the years, and of course got into residential real estate as a salesperson as well. So just a lot of sales oriented activities that allowed me to sort of combine technology and then being able to share and ideas and to influence, I guess, for all intents and purposes, because most geeks are not good at the influence game.
But you seem to be very impressive at it. Let's talking about activities and backgrounds and all that. At some point, I don't know exactly where or when, your detail is going to be enough. You thought about launching a brokerage, and it looked like something, felt like something. But what was the reasoning, real quickly, in your words? Why did you launch eXp, and what were you hoping for?
Yeah, so I started in real estate just over 20 years ago, April 29th, 2002. I know the date because it was a big deal kind of getting into real estate the way I did. But I joined on a team, but I was an internet lead generator. And then I was like, okay, what do I do with these leads? And so that led to, how do you build a team? And so I went to Keller Williams, and I remember reading actually in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, the idea that it takes about 5 years to create some skills around different parts of your business. And I'm like, I don't have 5 years to get here, to get here, to get here. So I'm a kind of a glutton for punishment. So like, instead of starting one team, I started 6 different real estate teams. So generally at the same time. And I realized that there was a big challenge for me running a real estate team. And the big challenge was that there was, for me at the time, and it seems like some people have broke through the ceiling today, but at the time I hit a bit of a glass ceiling as a team leader. I'd have agents leave the team, and they go effectively into competition with me. I'd help them, and most of them, by the way, I noticed that most of them actually went out of business after leaving the team. So, the lead gen, the training, the coaching, the high accountability infrastructure, that was something that, the team members got value from, but maybe they didn't appreciate it. And I said, well, how do we keep people, how do we invest in people, and then maybe even allow them to graduate off the team and be able to build income? And so that was one of the ideas around revenue share that we built the model. We thought about the idea that as a team leader, you need a certain platform or an infrastructure to run your team on. And then if the infrastructure then has some financial benefits for recruiting and bringing people to the brokerage, that it could be a pretty powerful model. So there was some of the ideas around it. It was really the idea that also for me, there was no true exit strategy from real estate in the way traditional real estate was set up. And I mentioned earlier about sort of solving the bigger challenge. I'm like, how do we actually, build a business in real estate that actually does have the benefits of a typical business, which is equity ownership, being able to build a residual income from the business as it scales. And so those are things that I wanted to solve for me personally.
You've definitely done that. I mean, we have, over the last 10, 12 years, become the fastest growing brokerage in history in agent count. And what's funny is we become known as Remax did before Keller did before us as the recruiting company. And everybody thinks we're the recruiting company, but our numbers in production speak for themselves. And could you put that in perspective? Because we do a boatload of production.
We do, yeah. You start to look at eXp agents in aggregate, and we're actually more productive than the industry average. So we're actually, we're actually above the industry average in terms of production per agent. And a lot of that has to do with the way that we structured compensation. So we introduced and created the very first Icon Agent program in 2014. And we did it for the single purpose that we knew that the top agents at any brokerage that they went to was getting a special deal. Just nobody knew what the special deal was. And so we said, if we want to attract these top producers, why don't we make the special deal actually overt and be able to recruit to it and be able to bring those top producers over, because agents will gravitate to where the top producers are. And then we start to think about all the things that happen because of that. I mean, the masterminding, I read the messages and I talk to people and saying, because of eXp and being able to be around so many icons and the fact that we've got conversations and all these masterminds, my businesses went up faster at eXp than any other brokerage I've previously been at on a significant level. And so just creating those opportunities for connections with other top producers really is all about, leveling up your production. Only about 5 to 10% of agents actually make agent attraction a significant part of their business. 80% of agents are on the productive side, meaning that they listed or they sold real estate in the last 12 months. 20% didn't sell real estate in the last 12 months. That's where most of our churn is. And some of those are actually more into the agent attraction side. But the majority of people that are into agent attraction are actually active, productive selling agents who happen to know other agents who could benefit from the eXp model. And they know from personal experience that, at least for them, eXp is the best model.
The production side, now that you've talked about it, does speak for itself if people look to our production. You talked about the Icon agent having a sweet deal here, and everybody's aware of it. There is no secret deal, which makes a level playing field. Talk about a level playing field and how great that is for our entire company.
Yeah, well, one of our core values is integrity, and there's a couple of things. When we think about the integrity of a model, you want to be able to trust that the model is going to do what it's supposed to do. You want to be able to trust that the person down the street, next city, next county, next country, doesn't have some sort of different deal than you do. And when there is a different deal, not to say that there aren't strategic reasons why we might do something, but as a general rule, it's exactly the same for every single person in the company. 84,000 plus agents have exactly the same opportunity, the exact same deal. We keep on investing in it. We call it iterating around the agent value proposition. So we're looking for, how can we create education opportunities? How can we layer in some additional revenue opportunities? How do we layer in other networking opportunities? How do we layer in other technology opportunities? But it's the nice thing is that it's only one model that we have to manage really around the world, which means we get to create common language, we get to create a common vocabulary, and we really are building this together. You'll see a lot of brokerages will have 200 agents in an office, and there could be 140 different pay plans. Because there's every time somebody goes to potentially walk out the door, they have to sweeten the deal for that agent and to keep them and retain them. But our model is so generous to begin with that it's just a great agent attractor, and there's really no need to create a new special deal for the next agent who might want to leave for the next shiny object.
And they often want to leave for the next shiny object, but we keep throwing interesting objects in front of them within our umbrella. That's what causes them to not look outside our doors, but to stay here, along with some of the things that keep them here. Our equity program. Can you speak briefly for that? Because a lot of people get the wrong perspective about our stock going up or going down, where in most companies they don't get stock at all. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, equity is really a big deal. When you think about the wealthiest individuals in our economy, it is, you can certainly make money from real estate. There's no doubt, and there's people who've done extremely well, but it's the equity components. You look at the Bill Gates, the Steve Jobs, the Elon Musks, the all of the various different folks, and where do they make their money? The wealthiest people made money through equity. And so if you talk to entrepreneurs that actually get it, they go, okay, I get that I'm going to get either 100% of my own efforts, or I'm going to get some components, or maybe some tech, or maybe you're going to pay for some marketing, or whatever it is that you're going to do. But in eXp, you actually earn equity over time. And if we think about the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, we think about it as a long-term forced savings program of sorts, where you're getting a little equity every year. Eventually, that equity in theory should be worth a lot more in the future than it is today. But even if it wasn't, most agents, and I was one, most agents aren't the best at sort of saving and investing for the future. And so having it in this other form of, we'll call it currency, something that's a little less liquid, creates this nest egg where if something happens, 4 or 5 years from now, it takes a little work to convert it from stock to cash, but it gives you that extra security, which could be the difference between, and I've had so many stories around how it's paid for medical expenses, or it's helped put kids through college, or it's done these different things. I had somebody last week at Build, and this wasn't with regard to the equity, this is regard to the revenue share, and maybe it was the combined. I didn't get the exact details, but a woman came up to me and said, I got divorced quite a number of years ago, and I joined eXp 2 years ago. And I can say for the first time in my life, or since getting a divorce, I'm not going to sleep scared. And so that was like a huge deal, because when you're an individual producer on your own, you've got family, kids, whatever things that you're responsible for. It is a bit of a scary place to be, and a lot of agents don't identify with it when they're younger. But as they get older and they've got more responsibilities, that stuff becomes more and more important. So the equity component is one of those additional components you don't really know you need until you need it. And when you need it, which could be later on in life, all of a sudden you've got this extra bucket.
And it's nice having an extra bucket. Look, it's the extra bucket idea, the equity, the revenue share, the lead generating platform with KV Core, the ability for agents to get access to health insurance at a fair price, or at least a reasonable price. These are all reasons why we've become the fastest growing brokerage to 10,000 and 20,000 and 30,000. Now we're at 80,000, approaching 90,000, and most companies have never gotten there. For a moment, put on your agent attraction hat. I'm actually sitting in Zurich, Switzerland, just got off a plane. I'm in Zurich, Switzerland. And if we were launching in Zurich, and you were wanting me to go up to an agent in real estate and tell them 1 or 2 or 3 things about eXp, they'd be the first things they'd ever hear about our company. What would be the things you'd want me to tell them?
And I'm not trying to be corrective at all, but I would likely just ask them, how is real estate done here? And just start to the Stephen Covey, the Seek First to Understand, just say, hey, I'm really interested in how this business works here in Zurich. I'm from the US. We've got a really neat model there, but how does it work here? How's your broker? How do your splits work? How do you transfer properties? How long does it take? What do you do for mortgages? I would go and just be curious about their business first, and then I would say, man, that's awesome. The reason, one of the reasons why I'm here, potentially, if that is one of the reasons, I don't know what it is, but I would say that, something to the effect of, hey, I'm actually looking to bring a real estate brokerage to this country, whatever the country is. Switzerland is this particular case. I'm actually looking to bring a brokerage from the US. Would you or anybody be looking for an opportunity to expand a business here? And I probably, and then they go, I'm curious, I'm interested. Well, let me share with you some of the benefits that we've created in the US and why it's been the fastest growing real estate brokerage. And I just say, one of the things is we've actually created the first retirement program, or ability to actually build something beyond just the listing and selling of real estate. Do you think that's something that would be of interest to agents here in Switzerland? And then I'd say, one of the things that we've done is we've created an equity program where agents actually become owners in a publicly traded NASDAQ company. And do you know any agents who would like to be owners in their own brokerage? And so I'd probably posture it like that. And I'd ask the question because questions lead to the types of answers. First of all, who's going to say that they're not looking for a retirement strategy? So you're asking them a question that they would, if they say no, they're not looking for any sort of additional opportunities. Well, you don't want to talk to them anyway. So it's a filtering process to some extent. If they're just being difficult, or maybe they don't care. Maybe they're independently wealthy. They're in Switzerland. Their father owns a bank. But the reality is that most people are looking for opportunities. Most people are looking for ways to build long-term wealth. Most people are looking to be on the front end of something. And so I would just lead with sort of the opportunity of being part of something coming to the country. By the way, in my opinion, just as an entrepreneur, the details don't matter that much. The details matter in that when somebody actually digs into it, they need to make sense. But as Gene Frederick talks about all the time, people join people. And so when you think about it from that perspective, then what you want to do is you want to form a relationship, and then you can come in and fill in the details later, rather than going straight to the details. A lot of people sell features, not benefits. A lot of people, think about eXp, EXPing on people, and so I like to think about the idea that we are in partnership with whoever we're in conversation with, and our goal is to really just provide them somebody that they can get good consulting from, conversations from, and is effectively their friend relative to the subject that you're talking about. So if we're talking about real estate, you want to say, hey, I don't know if this is a great opportunity or not for you, but if you're interested in exploring it, I'd love to show you what it is. Maybe it's for you, but maybe somebody that this might make a lot of sense for. I'd love to just, collaborate with you on that. So just those are the ways that I would approach it. Just say, hey, I don't know if this is for you or for not for you, but my guess is that, we're getting along great. You probably know somebody that this would make sense for. And by the way, once they start to identify a few folks that might make sense for, guess what? That's their revenue share group.
Makes sense for them. Great answer. Great answer. Let's go to a personal factor for a moment. You launched a company, 84,000 people are following now, and many of us are running up and helping lead the company as well. One of the things that you have to have is some pride, and I mean that in the best way, of some things you've accomplished here, or we've accomplished here. Could you identify one or two things that you were expecting and we hit, and maybe one or two things that you weren't expecting and we still did?
Well, I say this, and I make sure that this goes in every press release in the company, that we're building the most agent-centric real estate brokerage on the planet. we're building the real estate brokerage that, had it existed back in 2009, I would have been an agent there. Literally, I would have been an agent there because the opportunity is just that good. And so what I'm proud about is really delivering on what we set out to do in 2009. It's one thing to actually build a business plan, and I built hundreds of business plans. I've probably launched 17 companies over the years. And so I know the difference between writing a business plan and executing a business plan. And executing a business plan in a true alignment with the original plan is almost unheard of. And so the fact that the revenue share program that we built back in 2009 is effectively the exact same plan that we have today. The equity plan we added to it in 2013, 2014, first in the industry, and that was a game changer for the business. And so the things I'm proud of, and then the relationships. I think the fact that, and I kind of knew that it would appeal to a certain number of people that I looked up to in the industry, but it wasn't, obvious until a number of years later, till many of those same people recognized eXp as a place to hang their license. And so the team staying the course, which, by the way, is not the easiest thing to do, is to keep people staying the course, because you've got one person with a we call it a vision or a monomaniac on a mission, but you have a lot of people saying, well, why aren't you considering my idea? And why aren't you considering my idea? And you're trying to stay the course. And that's a tough thing to do, is to stay the course when you do have other people who want to provide some feedback, some input. But when when your vision is, this is the person that I'm looking to solve the challenge for, which again, I call myself a focus group of one. But I say, if we can stay the course, we're going to be able to attract a lot of other agents and brokers who think similar to me. It may not be 100% of the market, and it may only be 5 or 10% of the market. Of course, we're already close to 5% of the market in the US, but that's the market that I'm looking to solve the pain points for, and that's a big market.
You talk about a big market. I've heard you reference before, and I'm paraphrasing here, that we don't compete with other brokerages. We're really looking at ourselves as a platform, and if there's a competitive streak in us, it's really against the Zillows or competitively against the realtors. I know our acquisition of Zoocasa in Canada recently probably spoke to that. Can you speak a little bit further to that point?
Yeah, I think what's the phrase is that winners focus on winning, and others focus on winners. so I don't really think about, and also we get to define, what do we mean by winning? Obviously, agent count is one of the metrics that we would use, but it's really the more qualitative metric of what are we hearing from agents in the field? How are we impacting their lives? And what are the things that we're doing to improve the lives of agents? And when we think about iterating around the agent value proposition, we say, if we stay the course there, then it's inevitable that eventually we'll be, 200,000 agents, 500,000 agents, 1 million agents. But it is very much a stay the course mentality. There's a lot of folks, I think, that will get a certain degree of success, and then they'll ego and other things. And obviously we got to watch it ourselves. I mean, I'm saying this about others, but I think about even ourselves. Like, how do we stay humble while building the largest, fastest growing real estate brokerage on the planet? And I think that's the piece that I want to continue to stay the course on, is making sure that we stay humble. We remember that this is about the agent. This isn't about the management team, though necessary. It's about the agent. It's not about shareholders, though that's a necessary component because we're a public company for our agents. It's really about the agent and staying that course and staying humble around that course.
That great answer, and I appreciate that. And again, we appreciate your time today. We just have a couple more questions for you this morning, Glenn. We're talking agent. You know, our company was born out of the last settling of the market. Most people would say around that 2007, 8, 9 period. And then we were launched. Well, we know the market is settling again. I'm not going to ask your opinion at the moment, although everybody wants me to. We're going to ask a different question. A lot of brokerages, independent brokerages had huge issues back in 07, 08 in figuring out a way to stay in business. And many of them didn't do that. We know, you and I both know, that the margin is very thin today with a lot of broker owners. We're now settling again. We had almost 450, 460 independent brokerages partner with us over the last 12 months. If we were speaking to a broker owner that may be open to talk to us, two things. One, what would be the things you would potentially start saying to them to get them in discussion? And secondly, why should they come?
Yeah, I would, I come back to the whole idea is just, we want to be of service to those who we're in communication with. So I think the key is there anything I can do to help you with your brokerage in any capacity? Like I could think about the idea that, hey, would it be helpful if I came in and helped do a training in your office? Obviously, I've got eXp, but I would just start from a position of how can I add value? Brokerages are will be, if they're not already suffering. I mean, Q3 is not going to be a good quarter for residential real estate brokerage. Some cities around North America are down 40-50% on sales volume. So you think about that type of compression on sales volume. There's a lot of brokerages that they've got fixed bricks and mortar expenses. They've got these other things. So I would just come at it from a partnership perspective and just say, hey, I've been in the business for a while. Maybe if you have, if not, somebody who's been in the business for a while, probably somebody in your that maybe sponsored you into eXp. And just say, and just I do some consulting. I help broker owners sort of figure out their P&L situation and see if there's some synergies and some things to do. Would you be, how are you doing? What's your goals? And just ask questions. And then eventually, if you come from that perspective, you'll be able to come up with ways to add value. Again, I try not to come at it just straight at them with eXp, because that will put up the defenses. But if you come at it from the perspective of, hey, I'm here, I'm in your market, maybe you're not in the market, but you're there to help brokerages succeed, and you've got a number of partners that you work with that you can help broker owners succeed at a higher level. And if they're interested in spending some time together, then let's spend some time together. And that's really it. Hey, and you could use a leading question. If I could show you how to make another $200,000 or $300,000 a year from your existing agent base, would you be interested? Would you be willing to sit down for 30 minutes to have a conversation? Who's going to say no to that? It's sort of but when you start to think about it, if you can get rid of the bricks and mortar expense, which might be $10,000 or $15,000 a month, and you could get rid of some of the staffing expenses, which might be, whatever that staffing expenses are, and you start to sort of strip that stuff away, and then you sort of how the revenue share. By the way, here's how the revenue share program works at eXp. Maybe it's something you'd be interested in taking a peek at. By the way, have you ever thought of making your agents equity shareholders? And of course, that's a difficult proposition, but here's something you might consider. And so you start to just paint all benefits, and eventually they go, well, I could start that, or I could just join eXp. So that's the way I kind of approach it, is just come at it from a perspective of be curious, add value, and eventually they'll be interested in joining you.
Not surprising that your answer was a smidge different than Brent Gove's, but that's okay. Both of them work. It's okay with me. Let's pull Daniel off the screen. Someone mute him? That would be awesome. Thank you. And one last question for you, Glenn. And that question is this. we've got an event coming up in October called eXp Con. It's one of the 2 events we run a year for the company to bring in our agents and brokers and have us collaborate at the highest level. It's also something that we often will bring some guest agents looking at our company or guest brokers. If you were doing a personal request or a personal invitation to the agents within eXp for the upcoming event, what would you say to them? How would you invite them to come? Why would you want them to be there?
Yeah, proximity is power. I think that's something that, a lot of people say, Brent and others. And, the reality is that I would probably say, hey, we've got our eXp convention coming up October 11th through 14th in Las Vegas. I know you've heard about eXp, and what I'd like to do is invite you to just be in that environment, just so you can understand it better. I think once you're there, you'll see why so many agents are coming over to eXp, and you'll see how it matches up with maybe your goals in the business of real estate. And one of the things that you'll find is that inside of eXp is some of the most positive, uplifting, productive agents who are open to opening up their playbook because of the way that we've created the aligned compensation model. So for you to come meet some of those agents and be there. By the way, and this is just for anybody who's like going, well, I'd love to have them come, but I can't afford, or whatever it is. You can't afford not to bring them to eXpCon. And what I mean by that is I was talking to Brent, and he said that he has a 95% conversion in his organization of anybody who brings somebody to eXpCon. 95% of them will actually join eXp. And so if you just do the math on it, if you're paying for a ticket, or you're paying for a flight, or whatever it is that you're supplementing, they're an active producing agent, and you pay for some of it. You'll get that back in the next 12 months, double, triple. So you think about it as ROI perspective, for every $1,000 in, you're going to get $2,000 out in the next 12 months. And there's going to be additional benefits from some of those folks actually bringing people on. It really just makes sense to get as many people to eXpCon as you can.
Glenn Sanford, founder, eXp World Holdings, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate not only what you did today, but what you've done without us even being with you. We were just visions that you had 13, 14 years ago. So we appreciate you doing this, Glenn, and staying in front of the group. I mean, there's never been a question. Our leader is directly in front of us. So thanks again for joining us today.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks so much.
Well, that's going to conclude our normally 1 hour session. I want to remind everybody that we'll be doing another one the first Wednesday of October. I believe that could be the first, although don't hold me to that. It's the first Wednesday of October, same time. We'll have Michael Valdez on for a 20-question like we did with Jason Guessing. It's going to be a really interesting. He's very, very animated and very marketing oriented in the best way. He's going to definitely provide great information for each and every one of you, some confidence in the company itself, and some phrases you can use when looking to attract others. For those of you that are not aware, this is a Freedom Team program. You are part of the Freedom Team if you're part of the group that invited you here. If you're a guest to eXp, we want to welcome you for being here. And we also want to ask you to just reach out to the person that invited you and say, look, I want to find out more about this or more about that. There won't be any pressure. There shouldn't be any pressure from our end. We know our company is worthy of the investigation. All you've got to do if you're a guest is ask for the information. We have a training in some way, in addition to eXp's training every day on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're doing something to help the Freedom Team agents, the 3,000 agents that are part of this organization. And I want to remind everybody that if you are bringing new agents on, that we do have a white glove experience, an intake experience over and above what eXp does. I want to remind everybody that you can have your new agent onboarded through eXp, and they'll help change their license over and direct them to a few things, but we'll work with them more carefully. So if you want any information about that, all of this is on Workplace. Don't hesitate to go there regularly, and regularly to me means daily. Look at the eXp Freedom Team. If you are not part of the eXp Freedom Team, then click on the button there in eXp Freedom Team to join. And assuming you're part of the right lineage here, we'll include you as part of our team. And any other leaders that are here want another comment? We've got everybody in front of us. Anybody got something else to say? Jeff or Tim, Kathy, Kim, Sean?
Not really.
We're going to
Have
cut
fun
up,
this
as
week,
we've
so-
done previously. We're going to cut up what Glenn just did. We'll provide it in its full 30 minutes on the Freedom Team feed and Workplace, the eXp Freedom Team feed and Workplace. But we're also, for those of you that are working with us, trying to or attempting to attract other agents. And as Glenn said, 5 to 10% of our agents focus on agent attraction. If you are focused on that, then on Mondays and Thursdays, we do a class at 11 o'clock Eastern, in which we're going to talk about how to use the pieces of information that Glenn shared for your benefit with prospect agents or prospect brokers. If you're looking for more transactions, that's Tuesday and Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, same link. Tuesdays, more transactions, and Wednesdays, how to do more lead generation. But we are a group that wants to help you sell more real estate, attract more agents, and then set yourself up to walk away from the industry when you're ready to walk away from the industry, not when you slip in the ice at 70 years old in Indianapolis. Anybody else got something to add or share? Don't hesitate to come on and do that. But if not, I'll spend the next 2 weeks enjoying Switzerland, and I'll be back to the States the middle of September. But our Freedom Team classes and training are still going on. Again, check the calendar in the Workplace eXp Freedom Team group. Thanks, everybody. Make it a great rest of your week. We're now into September. It's football season. Go score some touchdowns.
Have fun, Eric.
Thank you, Kathy.
See everybody.
Everyone.
Bye,
Bring us
guys.
back some big news, brother.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.